Hey guys, what's going on? It's your big dreamer and doer, G Dinero, coming to you live to talk about compounding, the eighth wonder of the world. So if you see here this quote by Dr. Albert Einstein, he said, compound interest is the eighth wonder of the world. He who understands it earns it, and he who doesn't pays it. Make sure you're on the side of understanding it, and that's what I'm going to help you do today. Before we dive in, make sure you check out my website. You can book a class with me at gdinerocoaching.com. Also, like and subscribe this YouTube channel so that you can see more videos just like it. And before we dig in, remember, all of this is done for educational purposes, right? This isn't tax, legal, or financial advice. This is to help you make better decisions. So today's inspiration came from this one picture. And it was, again, Albert Einstein saying, compound interest is the eighth wonder of the world. He who understands it earns it, and he who doesn't pays it. So what does he mean by that? What he's talking about is that those people who don't fully understand compound interest, they get behind in things like their credit card bills. And credit card interest could be as high as 20 to 25%, which means that if you're making the minimum payment, you're going to be paying that basically for the rest of your life. You could literally be paying a credit card payment for the rest of your life if you get behind on it. Because if you don't understand how powerful compounding interest is, it's going to work against you and you're going to end up paying it. On the other hand, when you can see how powerful it can be when it's in your favor, it'll work for you and you'll see your money grow. You'll see your wealth grow over time. So let me give you a few examples here. So this is taking a look at, you have an asset, you have the years down the left-hand side, 1 through 10. So we're going to do some hypothetical examples here. Nothing compounds perfectly like this. Nothing is exactly the same amount year after year. But for this illustrative purposes, I went ahead and made it the perfect scenario, right? The exact perfect scenario. So you have $10,000 compounded over 10 years at various different rates, compound interest, compound annual growth rates. That's what CAGR is, compound annual growth rate. That's the growth rate that compounds year after year after year on an annual basis. That's what the annual part stands for. So if you have a compound annual growth rate of 5%, let's say in a savings account, sometimes that's been considered the risk-free rate of return. Not always. It all depends on what the interest rates are. Then you would take $10,000 and over the course of 10 years, turn it into $16,289. Not bad, but if you consider that the monetary base is debasing or the fiat currency is debasing or going down in value by anywhere from 3 or 4% if you believe the government numbers on one end to as high as 14 to 16% if you believe some of the experts in the space, people like Saifedean Ammous, who goes in and says that fiat is debasing at 12 to 14% per year, and you need to earn at least that in order to stay ahead of inflation. So 5% doesn't really look too good anymore. Gold over the last 10 years has averaged a compound annual growth rate of 8%. Better, you're turning $10,000 into almost $22,000 after 10 years, but still behind the monetary debasement. Next up is the S&P 500. The S&P over the last 10 years, not over the lifetime of the S&P, but over the last 10 years has averaged 11%. So with an 11% compound annual growth rate, you would turn $10,000 into $28,394. You'll see I've also listed 20, 25, 30, 40, 50%. And then on the right-hand side, the granddaddy of them all, Bitcoin, coming in at 84% compound annual growth rate for the last 10 years. When you look at that, you would have turned $10,000 into $4.44 million. Almost $4.45 million in the last 10 years. At an 84% compound annual growth rate. Now, past performance isn't indicative of future performance, right? So there's no guarantee that Bitcoin's going to continue with an 84% CAGR or compound annual growth rate. But there are many that believe it can easily deliver a 25% compound annual growth rate for the next decade. in which case $10,000 invested today would turn into $137,000, almost $138,000 on the back end. So as you can see, the higher the compound annual growth rate and the longer that the asset is invested in, the higher your return ultimately will be, and your money will go further. You'll be able to preserve your buying power, because ultimately at the end of the day, that's all money is. It's a placeholder in order for you to store your energy, the work that you're doing now, in the form of some type of asset or energy, so that you can use it again in the future for things that you might need in the future. A house, a car, pay for a kid's college or wedding, or go on that trip that you've always desired, right? Whatever it is that you're saving up for. So hopefully that's helped you learn a little bit more about compound annual growth rate. You know that much more now at the end of the day. So make sure you check out my website, book a class with me at www.gdinerocoaching.com. Like and subscribe. Go ahead and throw a comment down there in this video and let me know what you like best. And again, here's to you increasing your financial literacy.